All right, good morning, everybody. Before we get started, to make sure that everyone can hear me, please type the letter Y or the word yes into the questions pane. Awesome, I see a bunch of responses coming in. All right, good morning and welcome to today's Exago User Support Lab. Today we'll be showing you the Dashboard Designer in version 19.2 of our application. My name is Tim Light, and I'm the technical writer here at Exago. I'm happy to have you aboard, as the Dashboard Designer is a very powerful and popular part of Exago. And from my own personal point of view, the dashboarding tools were one of my first major assignments when I joined the team, so they hold a very special place in my heart. So it's a privilege to have you here today. Speaking of that questions pane, I find the best way to approach labs like these is to keep the lines of communication open. If at any time you see something you'd like me to review or you have questions, please post them in that questions pane. I am joined by my co-pilot, Emma Williams, of our services group, who will be answering your questions there. The support lab is being recorded, and it will be available on Exago's official YouTube channel, as well as our support site, exagosupport.com, for your reference later. It should be available by the end of the day today, if not sooner. Today, we're going to talk a bit about the changes between the previous dashboard designer and the new one, and then we will build a dashboard together step by step that looks like this. There it is. First things first, let's take a look at some of the things that are different about the new dashboard designer as compared to our previous version. The most obvious changes are to the workflow in the designer, more specifically to the toolbar and the tile properties pane. On this slide, I have the previous Designers Toolbar on top and the new toolbar on the bottom. You can see almost right away that the new toolbar is quite a bit different. Looks aside, we have made the toolbar a bigger part of the workflow. We'll visit the toolbar when setting the canvas formatting or filtering options, for example. General dashboard options like the canvas background color, tile styling, or dashboard resizing controls are now contained in this new canvas menu. These settings were spread through 2 or 3 of the tabs in the previous designer's right pane, and now they're all together right here. The look and feel of the toolbar also matches the styling of the rest of the application and is representative of the design we are moving forward with for all of our report building tools. The next item we'll talk about here is the Tile Properties pane, which has replaced the multifunction pane on the right side of the screen. As I previously mentioned, we have moved the filters, parameters, and dashboard style from the older right pane shown here up to the new toolbar. And now the new Tile Properties pane becomes context sensitive and will change to display different options based on the actively selected tile on the canvas. For example, if I click on a visualization tile, I am given settings for visualization tiles. If I click on an existing report tile, I'm giving settings for existing report tiles. We'll touch more on the tile properties pane as we go through building the dashboard a little later on. Another new and neat feature is the idea of consolidated filters and consolidated parameters. So just what is a consolidated filter? Well, if you've got 2 or more existing reports on your dashboard, and those reports have a prompting filter on the same data category, Exago will consolidate them together for you. Take, for example, my figure here in this slide. I have 2 reports, one named Category Products, the other named Category Suppliers, both of which have a filter on the category name field from the categories table. Parameters can consolidate just like filters can. We'll discuss filter consolidation in more detail as we build the dashboard. The big picture here is that you have one control in the dashboard viewer that affects reports on the canvas simultaneously, and Exago does this for you automatically. Of course, filters and parameters can also be unconsolidated if that's desired as well. One of the under the hood changes we've made to the dashboard designer is that now visualization tiles use the advanced report engine instead of the Express View engine. This is mostly transparent to end users, but what it allows us to do is to expand the capabilities of dashboard visualizations. One of the most important parts of this change, at least in my opinion, is that with advanced reports in the back end, you can aggregate with formulas, including the new custom aggregate functions, which were introduced in 19.2. Formulas can also be used to display data rows as well. Previously, dashboard visualizations were basically an express view created in the dashboard designer and then displayed in a tile. Now the dashboard visualization builder is built specifically for its purpose. The generated SQL by the advanced report backend is a bit tighter than it was previously. And what I mean by that is, for example, if you are displaying a chart that only shows an aggregate, which is most of the time, Exago will ask the data source to aggregate it for it so that only aggregated data is returned, which offers a potential boost in performance. Finally, transitioning to advanced reports in the backend paves the way for our developers to further extend the capabilities of dashboard visualizations. Other advanced reports features can be more easily brought over to the dashboard designer in future versions of the application. And one last point that I didn't put into my slide, but I should have, is that in 19.2, you can now drill down into a dashboard. If you're familiar with drill downs, or as they are called in the Advanced Report Designer, linked reports, you can now link to a dashboard from an advanced report. Before we move on, does anyone have any questions about the differences between the new and legacy versions? Go ahead and post them into the questions pane. All right. All right, so as I mentioned at the beginning of our lab today, we're going to build a dashboard together live right here before your eyes. On the screen now are the points that I'm going to touch on during this segment. As I'm going, if you have any questions, please raise them in the questions pane and Emma will answer them. And Emma, please don't hesitate to pause me to throw out a question in the open for everyone's benefit. I'll be showing you how to build a multi-series bar chart visualization, a key performance indicator or KPI tile. We'll add two existing reports filtering on the same data field to demonstrate consolidated filters, and then we will add an interactive filter on the canvas. All right, so here we go. Now I've already created a new dashboard in the dashboard designer, and I've added a text tile here with a heading in it. So the first thing we can do is set some formatting defaults for our dashboard. I'll navigate to the canvas menu and I'll select a light blue canvas color like that. I like that one. I'll set a color for my tile border and I'll leave the rest of the stuff as their defaults. It already has my tile color in there. So there are a few ways to create new tiles in the dashboard designer. We can click on the new tile icon and then select which visualization or tile type we'd like. Or we can drag the whole new tile icon to the canvas and Exago will prompt us which tile type we'd like to add. Since I'm building a visualization, I will click on New Visualization. We can give our new tile a name by entering it into this field right here at the top of the Tile Properties pane. When I enter the name, Exago will automatically show it in the tile. So I'll go ahead and give it a name here. Whoops. And you'll see it adds it to the tile. I can turn that off by clicking on this little eye icon right here. All right, so now that we have a visualization tile on the canvas, it's asking me to supply groups and values. This is another change we've made to the application in this release. And a shout out goes to Bailey Costello, our user experience designer, who advocated to make this change. This new nomenclature, along with the iconography here, leaves really no question about what Exago is asking us to do. In this case, since we're building a bar chart, the groups are going to be the labels that categorize the data. Let's say the employee's last name. Values are the dimensions that are being charted. In this case, it might be a sum total of order revenues. I can use the Data Fields pane on the right side of the screen to drag and drop data fields to the values or groups, or I can use the corresponding Add button in the Tile Properties pane, and there they are right there. So we're going to go ahead and drag the employee's last name and add it as a group. All right, now we will need to add values to the chart. You might remember that I mentioned that one of the benefits of using advanced reports as the backend to the visualization builder is the ability to use formulas. Let's do that now. I'll click this Add button to add a new value, and then I'll click on the formula editor. It's going to ask me to put a data field in first. Oh, yeah. So, okay. And we're going to calculate revenue by multiplying order quantity by order unit price. So I'll go ahead and add those fields now and build my formula. So now I've got my formula right there. Now I'll select the aggregation type from this dropdown. I could have also included an aggregating function in the formula editor, but sum is fine for now. Now, I mentioned before that this is going to be a multi-series chart. So let's say I wanted to expand this chart to show the contribution of each product category to every employee's total. That would be another group on our chart. So I can add that by dragging it to the Tile Properties pane. I can click on the chart type icon at the top here and select the stacked bar type. And as few as about 10 clicks of the mouse, I have a pretty sharp looking bar chart visualization built right here on the canvas. If I switch to the Style tab, we can make some changes to how this chart looks. I have the opportunity to change this tile's individual background and border color, set a chart theme, add labels, and set number formatting. So I'll set the theme to blue-gray to closely match my dashboard's look and feel, and I'll move the legend on the chart to the bottom. I can do that right here. Now, since the numbers along the horizontal axis, right there, are dollar values, we can apply some additional formatting to make them look more like currency values than just numbers. And I can do that from the number format section right here. And now I'll show you the Advanced tab for visualizations. We can select periodic automatic refresh intervals if we'd like the tile to routinely refresh on its own with this control right here. And we can use this X and Y, we can use this X and Y axis limit setting to set the upper range of the horizontal axis to 260,000. So let's go ahead and do that. And you'll see that this value will change from 300,000 to 260,000.
Hey, Tim, I'm just going to jump in quick here. We got a great question that I think everyone would benefit from. The question was, do we still use Fusion charts under the hood for all of these charts? That is correct. We have not changed our behind the scenes charting engine. And that does mean that if you open these up as advanced reports, which is something that Tim is going to show us in just a moment, you do still have access to all of those advanced attributes that you probably enjoy using if you're familiar with them. If you're not, we have labs on them and they're really handy. Thank you, Tim, for the interruption.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my questions pane is a little smushed for some reason on my computer, so I can't really see it. But yeah, that was an excellent question. Thank you for posing it, whoever did. All right. All right, so the last thing I showed you was X and Y axis limits, and there it is. This advanced filters button allows us to place filters on the visualization, which will affect the number of rows returned from the data source, similar to the filters dialog and how it works in the advanced report designer. This is another potentially performance gaining point, as we can tell Exago to only load the data that we're interested in reporting on. And I want to point out here that since this visualization is at its core an advanced report, I can use the Tiles menu to save it as an advanced report and then open it up in the report designer. So each tile will have a tile menu, and I can save as an advanced report, and then I'll be able to open it up in the advanced report designer and make any changes that I'd like to, such as adding conditional formatting or drill downs, for example. All right, so we've got our multi-series bar chart, and we've accomplished our first touch point. So let's try something a little different and put a key performance indicator on the canvas. We'll put it next to the bar chart, so I'll need to resize this tile on the canvas. And we'll see that as I do this, the contents in the tile resize accordingly when I let it go. There it goes. And I like to keep a little bit of a border around each one of my tiles, so I'll change that top border as well. All right, so I'll add a new tile to the canvas again. This time I'll drag visualization to the canvas. And as I do that, you'll see that Exago is making suggestions for fitting the tile alongside the others and into empty space on the canvas. In this case, I'll drop the tile here in between the right edge of my bar chart and the right boundary of the canvas. And you'll see that it automatically sizes itself up to match with the adjacent tile. But I'll shrink it down because I want to leave room for a filter. And again, I'll leave my one grid point space around it. You'll see that as I do that, the tiles snap into place on a grid, and the grid makes it easy to kind of line the tiles up and leave an equal margin around them. So I'll give my tile a name. Oops, and tear my caps lock off. And again, I'll hide it. Those tile titles will come in handy a little later, so that's why I'm doing it. Since this tile is going to be a KPI, we can change its chart type on the Content tab of the Tile Properties pane. So we'll switch back to the Content tab, and we'll change to a KPI type. And we can see right away that KPIs are a little different since they only have values. They don't have groups. You'll notice no groups, only values. For this KPI, I'd like to show the company-wide total of all sales. So I'll use that revenue formula again that we built for the bar chart, and I'll add it to the tile as a value. All right, so what I'll do is first I'm going to add quantity to my tile. And now I can open up the formula editor, and we'll simply rebuild the formula. There it goes. Now automatically Exago will use the count aggregation, but again, we'll simply change the aggregation to sum using this drop down here. I can provide a series name with this box here, and that will change the label that's inside the title. So I will go ahead and change that, and you'll see when I do that, now it says total revenue. Once again, let's flip to the Style tab, and I can set some theming and formatting options there. So again, I'll change to the blue-gray theme. And this labels section is where I can change the font and color of this total revenue label, but I'll leave it as the default here. This number format section, similar to the one for the bar chart, allows me to set the styling of the data. And again, since this is a currency value, I'll apply all three of those options here. All right, now the text in the tile is pretty small now. So I can use this KPI Value Format dropdown to choose a different display mode for the data. And I'm a fan of English short scale when it comes to showing a figure like this. So I'll change to that mode. I think that's a little bit more intuitive. All right, we have accomplished 2 of our goals for this dashboard already, and with only minimal work. We've covered a lot of ground, so if anybody has any questions, please take your opportunity now to post them in the questions pane, and either Emma or I will address them.
Yes, and I will take this opportunity to address a great one.
Right.
There was a question on whether or not we can make tiles transparent so as to just take the background color of the canvas as opposed to having to set all of those tiles to either match the color or something of that nature. Absolutely, you can by unchecking the background little checkbox in that tile style menu.
That's
will
right.
eliminate the background completely and in effect turn the tile transparent.
Yep, so I'll demonstrate that right now. And you can see I can toggle the transparency. And I don't know if you can see it on your end, but when you do that, you can even see the little grid points behind it. So
Awesome.
It is truly transparent.
Thanks, Tim.
Absolutely, you are very welcome. All right, let's keep moving to our third touch point, adding existing reports. So by now, you should be familiar with adding tiles to the dashboard. So now I'm going to show you a hidden third way to add a tile. If we're going to add an existing report to the canvas, all we have to do is drag the report from the report tree to the canvas. So I'll open my report tree, and I've got report here, category products. Okay, and just as if we were adding a tile, Exago will recommend placement on the dashboard. And when I let go, it will create the tile where I wanted, and it will load the report into it. And again, I'll leave my little margin around there. So this report shows all of the products and their unit prices organized by category. And if we open the filter menu right here at the top, we'll see that there is a filter item that has appeared inside of the menu. And that's because this report has a prompting filter on it. If we were to have run this report, it would have prompted me to select a category name. Exago will automatically add those filters to the dashboard designer so we can edit them if desired. So I'll go ahead and click on that filter item now. From here, we can give the filter a friendly name, which will be displayed in the dashboard viewer. So I'll go ahead and change the friendly name to category name. We can select default values here. So if, let's say, I don't care about seafood or produce, I can take them away. And we can see which tiles that this filter affects. Now, in this case, it only affects this one existing report tile here. This prompt for value checkbox will make the filter appear, the prompt for value checkbox will do just as it says. When the dashboard is run, it will pop the prompt up and ask for us to supply a value before the dashboard loads. The second checkbox right here, show on output, will make the filter appear in a filters pane in the dashboard viewer. So unchecking this box has the effect of hiding the filter from the end user. But since I want to have it show up in the dashboard viewer, I'll check show on output, and then I'll click Save and Close. Now I'll show you the Tile Properties pane for existing report tiles. We can close that Filters menu. So the Content tab allows us to select a different report to be displayed. Keep in mind that once a tile is initially set to one report type, you can only select that same report type to go into that tile. Since my category products report is an advanced report, I can only select other advanced reports to go into that tile. If it were an express view, I could only select other express views to go into the tile, and so on. All right, so let's switch over to the Style tab. The fit controls were added as a result of client feedback. That's these controls right here. Choosing responsive report height will cause the cells to change size to fit into the allotted tile size. Choosing keep original report cell heights will ignore reflowing and keep the sizes from the report's definition when it was built in the report designer. If you're using a filter on an existing report, keep original report cell heights may be your best bet, since as values are filtered out, the cells will try to fill the space and you may end up with really large cells. I like to try both options and see which way looks the best and go with that. The other options here allow us to change the styling of the tile. We can switch to the Advanced tab now, which has a couple more controls. The refresh report when changes are made checkbox will cause the tile to reload the report whenever any change is made to it. And we can disable this functionality by unchecking this checkbox. For a long, complicated report, it would be a good idea to turn this off so that we're not waiting on Exago to rerun the report each time. This is also a good idea to turn off if there are a lot of existing report tiles on the canvas, as it could also improve performance. All right. So I promised before that I would talk more about those consolidated filters. And to do that, we will need another existing report on the dashboard that shares a prompting filter with a category name field. I prepared one ahead of time, so we'll go ahead and add it now. There it is. I'll drag it onto the dashboard and give it our one grid space. And this is a similar report to the first one. This time it shows suppliers and their phone numbers that supply products in each category. This report also has a prompting filter on the category name field. So let's go ahead and open up the filters menu and see what's changed. So we'll see that there is still only one filter item on the menu, even though there are two reports containing filters. And that's because Exago has gone ahead and consolidated the filters together for us. Since both of these reports filter the same data, Exago has grouped the filters together to make them easier to work with. So I'll click on the filter item again. We can now see that it looks pretty similar to the first one, but we have these ungroup buttons that have shown up here on the bottom. If I click on one of them, we'll break the consolidation, and then I'll have two filter items, one for each title. But I can also regroup them by clicking Group All. When consolidated, the filters will behave the same. For example, if I enable Prompt for Value and run the dashboard, I will only be prompted one time, and that value will be applied to both of the reports. All right, so our dashboard is really coming together here. The final touch point in our list is to add an interactive filter right on the canvas. So I'll go ahead and I'll close this. I'll go back to the filter menu, and now we're going to add a new filter. So first we'll click on Add Filter. We can see now we have some new headings here. We have interactive and imported to differentiate between interactive filters created right here in the Dashboard Designer, and then those that are so-called imported from existing reports in tiles on the canvas. For our interactive filter, I'd like to change our KPI tile based on which year the orders were placed in. So for the filter field, we'll select orders.orderdate. There it is. I'd like to choose a range of years to include, so we can change the operator to isBetween, which will enable us to select from a list or range of years. And we'll skip over default values for now and go to affected tiles. You see we're given a list of all the available tiles on the canvas. However, only certain tiles can actually filter on the field orders.orderdate. And that is why the two existing advanced report tiles can't be selected. But since orders.orderdate is either on or can be directly joined to our bar chart and our KPI tile, they can be selected. I'll select only the KPI tile, which I labeled total revenue, and that's why the tile name comes in handy, so that changing the filter on the canvas will change the overall company total displayed. So let's talk about those default values. Orders.orderdate contains the month, day, and year of each order placed, but we're only interested in the year portion of each date, so we can use a formula again to isolate only that information. So I'll click on the formula editor, and there is a year function that will select only the year. There it goes. And we can now add some default values, let's say from 2014 to 2018. And we can save and close. Now, if we don't drag that filter item to the canvas, then the interactive filter will be available in the dashboard viewer's filters pane, just like the category name filter would be. But let's go ahead and add it right to the canvas, right here under the KPI tile. And to do that, we simply drag it right onto the canvas. And there it is. So again, I'll make a little margin around it. Okay, so we'll revisit our trusty friend, the Tile Properties pane now, and take a look at the Content tab. From here, we can modify the filters field and the affected tiles. We can also select an order that will be the values appear in the sort dropdown, and the input type we can select from a variety of different controls. And Exago will automatically select the one that it thinks might work best. In this case, since I'm using an isBetween operator, it's given me the range slider. So I can further change the orientation by using this control. And now we can switch over to the Style tab. In the Style tab, we have the usual color and formatting options here. We can change text and alignment, things like that right there. And for filter tiles, the Advanced tab is disabled. There are no advanced settings. We'll just leave these as a default. So there it is, our completed dashboard. Right there before your eyes, a multi-series bar chart, a KPI visualization built right here on the canvas, two existing report tiles, which imported and consolidated their category name filter, and an interactive filter, which changes the year information for the KPI tile. We could have also added images, text boxes, and even interactive web pages right to the canvas, but we didn't include those here. So let's go ahead and run the dashboard by clicking on this blue Run button in the toolbar. All right, we'll just refresh that real quick. All right, so if I hover the mouse over the year slider filter, you'll see that the KPI highlights in blue. This indicates what tiles the filter affects. In this case, it only affects the KPI tile. And if I change which years are included in the range, you'll see that the value changes. We can move that all around. Cool. In the top left of the dashboard viewer, there are two floating icons. Here we have a refresh icon that will refresh all the tiles on the canvas. And clicking on the filters icon will open up the filters pane. Whoop. There it goes. And there is our category name filter. All right, so there it is right here, the consolidated imported filter from our category products and category suppliers existing report tiles. And again, you see if I hover over it, the reports kind of highlight in blue, indicating which tiles on the canvas are affected by the filter. If I take the beverages category out, for example, you'll see that it disappears from both of the tiles. All right. So that concludes the second portion of today's support lab, building a dashboard together with some visualizations, filters, and existing reports on it. Before we go, I'd like to highlight some of the resources available to you as dashboard builders and dashboard users. First, our marketing department has created two great references for building dashboards. They are the Dashboard Design Handbook for SaaS companies and the Dashboard Design Cheat Sheet. Both of them are available for a free self-download on our website at exagoinc.com/learn/library. The second place you can find dashboard-related information is in our video training series. These videos are short, step-by-step tutorials very similar to what we did today, covering a variety of Exago report building topics, including dashboards. You can find the Dashboard Basic Video Training Series content on our support site, exagosupport.com, and then by clicking Videos, Basic Training, and finding the two dashboard-related videos, number 11 and 11A. Of course, as the documentation writer, I have to mention the official product documentation, which is also available on our support site, as well as built right into the application by clicking on the question mark icon at the top of the screen. There's the question mark icon, and there's the help built right in. Beautiful. I'm only a little biased. Last but certainly not least, we have our exemplary services and technical support groups. Both of them are standing by to assist with any of your dashboard or other Exago-related questions and concerns. You can get in touch by opening a support request on our support site or by reaching out to your customer success manager. And finally, I'd like to let you know of the upcoming Admin Support Lab that we're holding in March. Travis Smith-Grath, our Vice President of Client Experience, will be presenting custom aggregate functions, which you may recall are newly available in 19.2. If you are an Exago administrator, this is one you certainly don't want to miss. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our support lab. I'd like to thank you once again for joining us today. As a reminder, a recording of this lab will be available on our support site and on the Exago YouTube channel by the end of the day, if not sooner. If there are no other questions from the audience in that questions pane, we'll go ahead and end the call now. So I'll just take a quick look. Are there any other questions?